So after more than 2 years, actually, it's been now, Bryan Kohberger insisting that he is not guilty of murder, that police have the wrong man, that he was out looking at the moon and stars. Remember that one? He was out stargazing while 4 college students were being slaughtered. And most recently, that as many as 4 alternate perpetrators could be responsible. Kohberger is planning to say, in effect, never mind. I want to change my mind about all of it, change my plea to guilty ×4. And interesting to note, Kohberger never verbally pleaded not guilty. Remember this, at his arraignment, was there back in May of 2023, he stood silent. We made a big deal of that. He stood silent. The judge entered the not guilty pleas for him. So what happens tomorrow? That is the big question. I want to get to Jesse Weber. He is an attorney and NewsNation legal contributor. Jesse, I'm curious your take. Is there any chance that, does Kohberger have to talk tomorrow? I guess that's my question. Is there any chance that his lawyer could just do the talking and we don't even hear from Kohberger?
I believe he has to. Why? Because it's not like he's pleading not guilty. He's pleading guilty as part of a plea agreement. And one of the things under Idaho law that the court has to do is say, Mr. Kohberger, did you make this voluntarily? Do you understand your rights? Do you understand the consequences? Was anything promised to you? His lawyer can't answer that on his behalf. The judge has to hear it from Bryan Kohberger himself. So the idea that he would answer all those questions and then when asked, how do you plead, and he just stands silent, that's not going to happen. He'd have to have verbally say guilty. Otherwise, a plea would be entered on his behalf. So I believe tomorrow we are going to hear Bryan Kohberger say guilty. The reason he stood silent the first time was for whatever bizarre reason he chose not to do it. But maybe he didn't want to jeopardize his case in any way. The whole game has changed. So I think we're going to hear him say guilty.
So in terms of what sort of changed here, because I was always under the impression there wasn't going to be a plea deal. Things have changed in the last week or so. One thing that happened was this alternate perpetrators theory. The defense wanted to bring in 4 alternate perpetrators, people who they thought could be responsible for the crime. The judge said absolutely not. There's no way. Do you think that's what moved the needle here and why the defense decided, I think we want a plea?
There's a number of factors. First of all, he had a mountain of evidence against him. That was never changing. Number 2, he failed in delaying the trial, citing media coverage. And then the last thing, right? The alternative perpetrator theory. I'm going to point the finger at 4 other real individuals. You know how angry that makes me, Bryan? Because let me tell you something. As an attorney, everybody's entitled to a defense, sure. But just days before, he's planning to point the finger on people who had a social connection to the victims or knew somebody in passing, and days later he goes, no. I'm pleading guilty. This is not a case of him saying, I'm totally innocent, I'm getting railroaded, I have no choice, I'm facing the death penalty, I have to just plead guilty to save my life. No. He's basically saying, I did this. I murdered 4 people, and I was going to blame other people at my trial. This makes him more of a monster than he already was. So yeah, he had no choice at this point. I completely get why he took a plea, and he's trying to literally save his own life right now.
It makes me angry, too, especially because some of those names, and we're obviously not going to name them, but they are people who I spoke to early on in this before Bryan Kohberger was arrested. And they are people that literally have nothing to do with the murders. I mean, you don't have to do much investigating to realize that they didn't do it. There's no motive. Many of them have alibis.
Yeah.
There was DNA. There was DNA testing they did and fingerprint testing. And You're right. I mean, it makes your stomach turn to think they wanted to bring those names in the public way in a public trial like this. It really is upsetting. Just my last thing, with the delay. They wanted the delay. That was one of the last things the defense asked for. Just real quick, do you think if they got the delay, we wouldn't even be here? Like they wouldn't even be asking for a plea deal?
There's a chance. I mean, they wouldn't have asked for a plea deal, push it down the road, try to see if they could say a jury would be tainted, try to manipulate the case in some way, but the evidence doesn't change. The DNA, the cell phone evidence, the surveillance footage, the car, the eyewitness testimony, none of that goes away. And they tried to get some of that thrown out, wasn't working. I think this trial was either going to happen or he was going to plead guilty. And obviously, you can make, from a legal point of view, you understand why he did it, because there was a strong chance of conviction and a strong chance the jury was going to come back and vote in favor of the death penalty.
Yeah, and here we are with the plea deal. Jesse Weber, appreciate you as always.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.